Donald Trump is in a full meltdown mode on his social media platform, making posts that would constitute obvious admissions of the crimes he is being charged with in Manhattan in the criminal case that's about to start having the jury deliberations taking place. No doubt those jury deliberations are haunting Donald Trump's ability to even sleep right now. Donald Trump is also making statements that, in my view, would be a clear violation of the gag order regarding the jury. And Trump is whining and saying it's unfair that the jury is not being sequestered and that the jury has 7 days prior to when summation's going to be taking place, which Donald Trump says is unfair. That would be a clear violation of the gag order, which I think is going to be addressed on Tuesday. Let's just take a look at some of the posts that he's been making. Oh, and by the way, he's also making posts saying that the speech that he gave in front of the Libertarian convention in D.C. was successful, and the crowd that mercilessly booed him was actually full of enthusiasm. It doesn't get much more embarrassing than this, folks. He is just so utterly pathetic. Here's what he posts. He goes, "In addition to the fact that I did nothing wrong, NDAs are totally legal and commonly used, and that virtually every legal scholar and expert says in written form that this is a case which has no merit and should not have been brought. My lawyers have informed me that the highly conflicted and corrupt Judge Juan Merchan will not allow reliance on counsel, which virtually everyone is allowed to use, as an additional, though not needed because I did nothing wrong, defense. This, quote, case, which could have been brought 7 years ago, but wasn't because it has no merit, is a disgrace. It was only begun to interfere with crooked Joe Biden's political opponent, me." Then he puts this all in caps, "reliance on counsel, make America great again, exclamation point." As the Mueller She Wrote account writes, Trump is admitting he participated in the catch and kill. NDAs are obviously not illegal, but reimbursing your lawyers and calling it legal fees is. He also appears to admit he relied on Cohen's advice. Advice to do what? Pay him back for the hush money and then falsifying business records? Now, for an advice of counsel defense, if you want to put on that defense, guess what, Donald? You would have to testify. Your lawyers, like all lawyers who are representing criminal defendants, would have to disclose an advice of counsel defense prior to the time that trial starts. But even as trial was taking place, your lawyers, I'm sure, could have informed Justice Merchan, look, we will be relying on an advice of counsel defense. Now, if you rely on an advice of counsel defense, you waive attorney-client privilege, and the criminal defendant has to testify about their reliance on the advice of counsel. So you, coward, you, Mr. Pathetic, you would have to take the stand, and you can talk about what you think you relied on, whether it was from Michael Cohen or otherwise, that led you to commit a crime, to try to vitiate the intent element from the criminal conduct at issue, the same way all criminal defendants do, if they want to assert that defense. Now, you are, of course, too cowardly to testify. Now, what your lawyers try to do is say, oh, well, because Donald Trump doesn't want to testify, we're not claiming an advice of counsel defense. We're claiming something different. We'll call it a presence of counsel defense, which we'll just make up. And Justice Merchan said, a presence of counsel defense isn't something that exists. That's not a lawful defense. You can make the advice of counsel defense, but Trump would have to testify. And of course, Trump was too cowardly to testify. But it's all right. Mislead your MAGA sheep. Lie to them. Make them think like you're a tough guy. Go to the NASCAR race and wave to the crowd and pretend that the crowd's there to see you and not the NASCAR race like you did on Sunday. You pathetic loser, you. That's what he actually did. After getting booed at the Libertarian convention, he went to a NASCAR race in Charlotte where there was a big crowd, and he started waving to them while they were watching the race. Don't play. This is what he did over the weekend. Play this clip. But I digress. Then Donald Trump posts the following, and this would be a violation of the gag order, in my opinion. Trump goes, "Can anyone believe that the Soros-backed DA, Alvin Bragg, was able to get a delay of 7 days to his corrupt and unconstitutional case against me with no sequester? Legal expense equals legal expense, exclamation point, whatever that means. The only thing Bragg has going for him is the corrupt and highly conflicted judge, which is a lot." You see how terrified Donald Trump is here. And again, saying that a sequester with no sequester, that's referring to a jury sequester. This jury's not sequestered. The idea of juries being sequestered or like put in a hotel where they can't go back to their families, that's really not something that takes place anymore in the modern day. It's very rare to see that. But Trump's making a statement right here. This is clearly a statement intended to threaten, harass, intimidate, or manipulate the jury. Now, Justice Merchan would have actually liked the jury to start deliberating this week. But guess what it was? It was Memorial Day weekend, right? Well, you would know that, right? Because your kids, your degenerate children, are posting that this is a family, the Trump family, that gave up everything to save America. Thank you. And Eric Trump goes, "And we will do it again." So on Memorial Day, where we should be honoring the ultimate sacrifices made by our troops, by our men and women and people in the armed services, this is how you think the ultimate sacrifice is what your family did? Grifting, violating the emolument clause, taking the great symbolism of our country so y'all can make money off it, so Ivanka and Jared makes $600 million in the White House, and then Jared gets $2 billion from the Saudis after MBS, the leader of Saudi Arabia, says that he has Jared in his pocket. How despicable and disgusting of a family you all are. Here's what Adam Kinzinger put. He goes, "I wasn't going to tweet anything political this weekend, but I have to make an exception for this," what Eric Trump posted on Memorial Day. "Your family has sacrificed nothing. Your name will become synonymous with Benedict Arnold. And how dare you tweet this weekend? You do not know the first thing about service." Apologize, I digress there for a second, because what Donald Trump is saying, I can't believe the judge didn't order a sequester. It's a Memorial Day weekend. You would not allow proceedings to take place the prior Friday because you said you were going to the graduation of Barron. So the case did not continue on that Friday. So because of Memorial Day and because of when closing arguments are going to be taking place, that is why there's a brief delay, because there is no court on Monday and because court is dark for the holidays. And then there was the weekend break. And then after court concluded on Tuesday, there is no court on Wednesday. So it just doesn't make sense to start summation on a Thursday heading into Memorial Day weekend. And by the way, had you just stipulated to get in records that should easily have come in, this case could have been completed about 2 weeks ago. But you're the reason for this delay because, like with all things, you're a pathetic, whiny loser with a victim complex that disgraces our nation each and every day. You pathetic loser, you. And then Donald Trump posts the following, speaking about what a pathetic loser he is. He just says this. The reason, that's what he posts, the reason I didn't file paperwork for the Libertarian nomination, which I could have absolutely gotten if I wanted it, as everyone could tell by the enthusiasm of the crowd last night, was the fact that as the Republican nominee, I'm not allowed to have the nomination of another party. Regardless, I believe I will get a majority of the Libertarian votes. Junior Kennedy is a radical left Democrat who's destroyed everything he's touched, especially in New York and New England, and in particular as it relates to the cost of practicality of energy. He's not a libertarian, only a fool would vote for him. Well, there was actually a vote at the Libertarian convention on who they were going to nominate. Stormy Daniels got a vote. Ben Dover got a vote. You got 6 votes, less than 1% of the Libertarian delegates, after booing the crap out of your pathetic self while you were on stage to your face. You got less than 1% of the support for those people who you were begging for their support and saying, I'll do whatever you want to do. I'll put a Libertarian in there. You just tell me what you want, as they booed you to your pathetic little face. You couldn't even get 1%. By the way, as you confiscated their squeaky toy chickens, at a Libertarian convention, you pathetic loser, ordered the Secret Service, who should not even be doing this with our tax dollars, to confiscate these squeaky toy chickens that were being passed out, where the Libertarians wanted to squeak and squeeze them while you were giving your speech. You were such a snowflake that you had those confiscated by the Secret Service at a Libertarian convention, while not even in an office ordering the Secret Service to take away squeaky chickens. Guess what? They can still boo you, which they did the entire time while you were giving the speech. And I know you want to say there was enthusiasm. There was not. You got to see for a moment what the world and what this country really thinks about you when you're not surrounded by your weirdo MAGA cult members. So there you have it, folks. That's Donald Trump. By the way, you want to know what President Biden was doing over this weekend instead? President Biden was at the West Point graduation, shaking the hands of all 1,036 graduates, one by one. He spent 70 minutes shaking everyone's hand, saluting and shaking the hands of each graduate. He gave an incredible speech. He said that America is the strongest when we lead, not only by the example of our power, but by the power of our example. To the West Point class of 2024, congratulations. You make the entire nation proud. Here's what President Biden said in his speech. Play the clip.
Freedom is not free. It requires constant vigilance. And from the very beginning, nothing is guaranteed about our democracy in America. Every generation has an obligation to defend it, to protect it, to preserve it, to choose it. Now is your turn.
And what was President Biden doing? President Biden was visiting Uvalde. President Biden said it's been 2 years since 21 innocent souls were taken at Robb Elementary in Uvalde, Texas. No community should have to ever go through what their community suffered. We have to do more. It's time for those who obstruct, delay, or block common sense gun reform to act. Here's what President Biden was doing, shaking the hands of American workers. My Investing in America agenda is fueling a historic boom, rebuilding our roads and bridges, developing and deploying clean energy, revitalizing American manufacturing, and more. So while Donald Trump was spending his time confiscating toy chickens, while Donald Trump was spending his time whining and attacking the jury for not being sequestered, while Donald Trump was pretending that the speech he gave was a great one while he got booed the entire time. By the way, Trump reposting pathetic MAGA Republican Senator Mike Lee saying Trump knocked it out of the park tonight at the hashtag Libertarian convention. You knocked what out of the park? You got booed the entire time. I mean, again, such a pathetic movement, this MAGA, such a pathetic loser he is. We'll see what happens this week when the jury deliberates, but justice, I hope, will be served. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 3 million subscribers. Thank you so much for your support. Hit subscribe right now.
Enough! Send him to the big house, not the White House. Get the new exclusive tees, mugs, and stickers right now at store.meidastouch.com. That's store.meidastouch.com.